What's going on, guys? So welcome to the video. I want to teach you the proper or correct rotation for bash, whether you're using HOTA Bash or HOTA Bleed Bash Barb, and there's differences, there's little nuance, little subtleties there, but I've been teaching people on Twitch Live. They say, like, how come I'm not seeing the damage? Why am I not doing hundreds of millions? And this video aims to solve that for you. So let's go over some of the basics you need to know about the rotation, then I'm going to teach you how to do it really quickly, okay? Some of the basics are this. You are a bash build. Bash is your main skill. So bash is how you deal damage. I have it on right click, so I sit here and hold right click, okay? That's my bash. 37, 27 million. Like, fantastic, right? Life is good. But I'm not seeing hundreds and hundreds. Okay. The way we empower bash is through a couple different multiplicative damage buckets that we want to engage with. HOTA, Hammer of the Ancients Bash, is one of those ways. We guarantee that we're going to overpower with Hammer of the Ancients when we have 4 critical strikes of our bash skill. Okay, so let's just go over the basics. Bash can critically strike, okay? And there's 2 numbers here that you might be getting messed up with. First of all, when I'm bashing the target, okay, you're going to see a 1, 2, 3, 4 on my skill bar. That is not the one that you want. That number denotes the following, right? It's what bash does. It says, basically, you bash the guy doing a bunch of damage, but after you bash 4 times, you're going to stun the target for 1.5 seconds or 2 seconds if you use a 2-handed weapon. And if I kind of mouse wheel down here, I can see I'm using my 2-handed mace. Okay, so what that number on the bottom is, that's my stun. So when I hit the 4, right, bang, he's stunned, right? Now he's stunned. After 4, he gets stunned for 2 seconds. That's not the number you want. To get your multiplicative damage number, you want to see your buff bar. Your buff bar says, and this is that bash icon here, right? It says, at 4, your next core or weapon mastery skill will overpower. So our next core skill is Hammer of the Ancients. And our core skill tree is Hammer of the Ancients. And when we have Violent Hammer of the Ancients, it guarantees the overpower, thus giving us 30% multiplicative damage for 5 seconds. Okay? So the rotation kind of goes something like this. If you're the non-bleed version, you bash up to 4 buff stack, bash up to 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and hopefully you critically strike. But once you've got to 4, I want you to press Hammer of the Ancients and then Warcry. And the reason I want you to do Warcry after is right here. What happens with Warcry? You bellow a mighty Warcry, increasing your damage by 21%, in my case, multiplicative, yours may be higher, okay, for about 7 seconds. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, and when we use HOTA, you can shout whenever you want. So like I could be doing whatever I want, and Rallying Cry as an example, or Challenging Shout as an example, I can just shout freely in between skills. But the Warcry is really important because it's going to allow me to go Berserk, which gives me Berserk damage multi that I want as well. So, really quick, bash up to 4, Hammer of the Ancients shout, and then we have this skill called Steel Grasp. Chains. We throw the chains out there because chains give us 2 things. A, it makes them vulnerable, and B, makes us Berserk. So Berserk looks like this. I'll use my chains right now. Berserk is that red fire on my character, okay? So when the Berserk wears away, I lose a lot of damage. And when he's no longer vulnerable, I lose a lot of damage. So you're trying to get in this rotation where you're bashing the guy with your big multiplicative damage buckets to really send your damage through the roof. So let's have an example of like just pressing some buttons, right? I might HOTA the guy. I then might use my chains, and I'm hitting for like very little numbers. My bleed damage was 75 million, which is because I'm the bleed variant, but in this video, we're talking about HOTA Bash first. So the correct rotation, bash, 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 4 stack into HOTA, Hammer of the Ancients, Warcry, right? Bang. There comes the big damage, right? And then I have chains that I use again to maintain that big hit, and then I go again, bash, bash, bash. Now here's a problem you're going to have. You can't see when your 4 bash rotation is up. Your 4 bash buff is up because the buff bar just gets too many buffs on the bar, right? So here we go, right? We're doing all kinds of stuff. I can't see it. But there's this green bar on Hammer of the Ancients. I want you to use that and assume that just before that green bar ends, that's when you have a 4 stack. Assume that you have the 4 stack with your critical strike chance, okay? So green bar is about to go away, right? And that's it. And then we just start, we now monitor that green bar and assume that's our 4 bash buff, okay? So bash, 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 up to 4 buff on your buff bar, Hammer of the Ancients, Warcry, and then go for it with more bash. You just hold down bash. And then until that green bar on HOTA is about to end, then you go chains to keep them vulnerable and then to keep you berserk, right? So go again, 4 stack, HOTA shout, bang, 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 chains, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, right? HOTA, chains, go. And that's how you get those nice, big, juicy ticks, okay? The bleed variant's a little bit different because we use Berserk Ripping on our 2-handed mace in this build. So the way Berserk Ripping works is whenever we deal direct damage while we're berserking, depending on your roll, up to 60% of that base damage is going to be inflicted as a bleed, okay, over 5 seconds. So the subtle nuance here is this. I want you to bash up to a 4 stack buff, which is normal. That's normal, right? But before we get that HOTA in, I want a Warcry first so that I'm berserking. And the HOTA goes in, and I have 5 seconds off of HOTA to deal 30% multiplicative damage. So I'm going to say it here, it's bash into Warcry HOTA, count to 7 roughly, depending on your attack speed. 7 hits of bash, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then it's HOTA chains. And the reason you go HOTA chains until your Warcry comes back up is the following. HOTA is going to absorb that core skill, right? With your bash buff of 4. HOTA, your core skill, is the one you want to use. But the problem is weapon mastery or its core or weapon mastery will overpower. So what that means is, what's a weapon mastery skill here? Well, if you look at it, weapon mastery is actually Steel Grasp. So if you look at that buff, it'll actually eat your bash buff, which is not what you want, because if it eats your bash buff, you're not getting that 30% multiplicative from Hammer of the Ancients. So that's why you go HOTA, then you chains. 30% multi, chains, they're vulnerable, we're Berserk, bash, bash, bash to 7, okay? So I'll just say it out loud, here we go. Try to keep up, and you can slow this down, do whatever you want. I want you to get the right rotation. Your damage is gonna go way up if you do this, and I can't wait to hear about your success in the chat here, in the comments below. So, bash to 4 buff, okay? Bash to 4 buff, into Warcry, HOTA, count to 7, HOTA chains. Count to 7, HOTA chains. And then after that, typically Warcry's back up, and then we have our default rotation. So let's go. Bash, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? There's 4, bang. HOTA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, HOTA chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, HOTA chains, right? Then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Warcry HOTA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. HOTA chains, and away we go, okay? And you'll see that on my build, I'm not even close to min-max. I've got a bleed of about 270 million. That's great, okay? I hope that rotation helps you, and I'm working on this build to get even more out of it. But the one thing is true at the end. If you stuck around the whole time, this is something I need you to know. The gear to make all this come together is extremely important. And if you're not hitting certain ranges, you won't be seeing numbers like that. However, in your bash rotation, you can still amplify and magnify your damage if you get the rotation right. Okay? And just quickly, the gear I'm using, right? I got a Shaco. I've got Undying on my chest. You can look at this, Concussion, Imposing Presence. I got Pain Gorges with Attack Speed Crit, GA. I've got Might on my pants. I got Bash, 7 ranks. That's not even gold. And this is like min-max stuff, right? So you want to get the best. Then you got boots. I don't even have Warcry on my boots yet, but I'm working on it, which is good. I've also got a 2-hand Berserk Ripping. So again, this is double hit on bash with crit damage. So I still got to hit that triple bash. My weapons, I got Vuln, Strength, and Life with triple bash. That was huge. Then I got triple crit on my Strength, Max Life crit damage sword. I'm using Grandfather, which hit twice on damage, 1 on life. On my ring, I got Inner Calm. I've also got Crit Strike Chance, and then I hit like damage while Berserking. We're going to get to why that's important in a second. Then I actually got a solid ring here, Bold Chieftains on double attack speed, 1 crit chance with Warcry damage while berserking. And then the Necklace of Adaptability. I've got crit chance, cooldown reduction, heavy-handed, but I hit the frickin' evade like a goof. So I'm +6 to heavy-handed. So you can see I've got some room to move, but you may not have this gear, and that's okay. If you get the rotation right, you can succeed and get deeper in the pits, okay? So why does Berserk damage while Berserk matter? In your Paragon board, it's important because you're going to have a node here. I'll get rid of Berserk here. Just turn this off. Clear all. You have one. Let me see. I think it's called the Carnage board. Let me see over here. Okay, so Blood Rage, excuse me. Killing an enemy has a 10% chance to grant Berserking. You see right here? 10% chance to grant Berserking for 5 seconds, while your damage is increased by 10% multiplicative of your damage while Berserking bonus. So I'll break this down into English. As long as you have the Blood Rage glyph, like a Paragon node like this, you want to have 300% damage while Berserking, okay? 300% translate to 30% multiplicative damage. So let's look at our character sheet real quick, right? Bring this up. If you come down here, you're going to scroll all the way down. You should be able to see it. Damage while Berserking is sitting right here. It's just above Thorns, just above your defensive. Damage while Berserking, mine's 319.5. I could give up a couple more points, but that's okay. I'm happy where it's at. So if you've got 300%, you're killing it. And I'll go over my stats really quick for you. My attack speed at the moment is 59%. My critical strike chance is 62. My critical strike damage is 4,500. A lot of that is coming from the Grandfather. Without it, I'm at 2151. But Grandfather enabled, 4555. And then my vulnerable damage is 407.9. Okay, that's my build, but the rotation's important. I hope this video helped you Barbs get swollen huge and just deal hundreds of millions of damage. If you're stuck, it's probably because your rotation isn't right. Whether you're the bleed variant or not, this should help you. One more time, because it's super fun. Bash to 4. We're doing the non-bleed variant, right? HOTA, shout. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? HOTA chains, and then we go. Big bash, big bash, big bash. Now, if you want to get a little extra damage really quick, this is like thanks for watching the video part, and you're still sticking around, want to get a little bit more damage, check this out. Take out Enhanced Challenging Shout, put a point into Call of the Ancients, and then Prime Call of the Ancients. This allows your Call of the Ancients to give you 20% increased attack speed and an additional 20% multiplicative. So Ancients plus HOTA is 50%, plus whatever you've got on Warcry. In my case, it's 21. That's 71% multiplicative like that I just get. So getting that rotation rate looks like this, right, on my bleed variant. So I call in the Ancients, then I start my rotation. So Ancients come in, right? Warcry HOTA, go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, HOTA chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, HOTA chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Warcry HOTA, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, HOTA chains. And that we were bleeding for over 300 million. Love it. And hope this video helps you. I really want to see you succeed in the game in any way that you want to. Thanks for checking out the video, you guys. Much love and enjoy the day. Catch you on the next one.